This is Tareq Hadhad, an example that we can learn a lot from. You see, Tariq was studying to become a doctor back in Syria in 2012, and his family had a successful chocolate making business. But then once the war broke out and their chocolate making factory was bombed, the family was forced to flee their home and went to Lebanon, to a Lebanese refugee camp, and were there for about 3 years until they got sponsorship to come to Halifax, Canada. And when the family came to Halifax, they came in with that dream that they'd reignite their chocolate making business and use it as a vehicle to spread joy and peace. They called it Peace by Chocolate. And today, Peace by Chocolate is one of the biggest employers in that same city, is one of the most successful chocolate making companies here in Canada. And this example really goes to show that no matter what the circumstances, no matter what might happen, you can make a difference. You can make your dreams a reality. And Tariq and his family are a great example of this. Shout out to you. Hey everyone, today we're joined by an incredible guest. We have Tareq Hadhad here with us from Peace with Chocolate, Peace by Chocolate, an incredible entrepreneur, an incredible story. Tareq, thank you so much for being here on the Generation Limit podcast.
Akash, thank you very much for having me. What an honor.
Yeah, Tareq, it's like so many people have now come to become more familiar with your story. They look at you as like a successful example of what someone who comes from a different country, what the potential possibilities can be for an entrepreneur, and what really is possible with a family-oriented business. And it's just incredible to actually have this opportunity to speak with you. And Tarek, what I wanted to do was I actually wanted to start a bit chronologically so people can understand a little bit about the journey
Sure.
of how we are where we are today. And will that be okay with you?
Absolutely. That's my favorite ways, going back in history and bringing people to the present, because you need to know how did history shape us and what happened in the past that certainly is impacting our present and our future.
Absolutely. Okay, terrific. So Tarek, I was trying to do a bit more research on you, your family, like with the book, the movie, and also like a lot of the articles that were written. And I know like growing up, yeah, your family and y'all come from Damascus in Syria, and I know like that part of your life is a very very pivotal and important part of not only your formative years, your education, etc. Just if you could help us understand a little bit more, if you could just tell us a little bit more about what it was like growing up in Damascus with your family and what that experience. If there were some things that you'd like to mention about that.
Absolutely. Growing up in Damascus has always infused that sense of culture, civilization, and heritage. Damascus is the most ancient city in the world that was inhabited since 12,000 years ago. So, growing up in that environment has taught me a lot. It has taught me about values like family, compassion, supporting one another, be there for our neighbors, and be there for those strangers that I even don't know, and be kind to everyone. Growing up on these values have certainly supported me to be the person that I am today and to shape our future to the way that it is today. So I just remember a lot of details from being there in Damascus. And one of the most important things that people really don't know is that, families is everything in Syria. Like, people value family over everything. And that's because there's a proverb that says, at time of test, family is best. So, we were as a family members just celebrating living together. We were living in one building that had 10 floors. My grandmother was on the first floor. We were on the second floor, and my uncles and my aunts. And the floor kept growing as the family was growing. The number of floors were growing in the building too. So because my grandmother really loved to have everyone in the family all together in the same building, loved to have us every Saturday for supper, loved to see everyone being supported, whether if they're living through a happy time or a sad time, we knew that we were there for each other. A lot of family members didn't have much, but they had each other. And I just remember, from the happy days, celebrations like Mother's Day, when, for example, we as family we would come together and celebrate and just play these games when a lot of people would be getting gifts for anonymously, and then some of the gifts would be just as a representation of the country and what does Damascus do, and kind of all of these Damascus puzzles and Damascus mysteries all infused in these gifts as well. So I remember a lot growing up there, but at the same time remember how much the country needed needed to be lifted to the world stage, needed to be reformed, needed so many rights that were missing. And, for me, living there for decades of my life, I have certainly formed many friendships with my fellow Syrian citizens there, those people who shared the same dream as I did. I was very passionate about becoming a physician in Damascus while my family built a chocolate business. My family were so passionate about building a business that would spread happiness. And my father used to say, I don't make chocolate, I make happiness. And that was really the motto of the company, because it all started based on the notion that chocolate makes happiness, and everyone eats chocolate will be happy, no one eats chocolate will be sad. So, my family and my parents actually met after my father gifted my mother two free boxes of chocolate when she came into one of the shops in Damascus on the way to the airport. And I just
Okay.
remember the sweet story of how my family and my parents used to tell me that with a big smile on their faces, and they were, shy two people meeting at a chocolate boutique in Damascus. Just my mom opened the boxes, and she was really impressed by how much detail my father put into the chocolates. And then she realized, well, this is the man of my life. So then she came back to the shop, and then my parents fell in love after 6 months after my mom became his best customer. And then I was born, and I always say I was born because of two free boxes of chocolate. And years and years later, my father opened the second largest chocolate factory in the region. My family used to be really involved in the community. They had many organizations that they were partnering with, but we didn't know what was the possibility there. But we knew that believing in ourselves, no matter where we are in the world, no matter what's our background, no matter what's our status, can lead us to magic. And that's what my father did. He believed in himself as a self-made entrepreneur. And he always used to say that entrepreneurship is like jumping off cliffs and building a plane on the way down. So he jumped off the cliffs and he built that plane on the way
Right.
down. And then he figured out how to fly. And maybe, a lot of people have not been to Damascus. Maybe a lot of people know from Syria. It's the country of war, refugees, and it's all about the tragedies that happened after 2011. No one really remembers, or no one knows, that Syria is much more than that. Syria goes way back in history. Syria offered and hosted many refugees, actually, Iraqi refugees, Armenian refugees, Turkish, Palestinian refugees, even from Europe. European refugees came to Syria during the Second World War. And that sense of hospitality was not just because the country was very close and central to everyone. It's because the Syrian people are very generous, and they just try to give you the clothes on their back, if you needed them. So, and that really has taught me a lot. We as human beings, we are born to learn, and there's no limit to what we can learn. And Syria has certainly taught me to be generous and to be kind and to be compassionate, and certainly to live for the best values for all human beings and bring people together in everything I do. And that's actually why we are doing what we are doing here. But, unfortunately, in Syria, we have lost everything in a blink of an eye. And there was no way for us really to be able to imagine what does a rebuilding process look like, because it was very difficult for us after even losing many family members. At many times, for my family, we were there for each other, and we were praying that no one will be missing at the dinner table the next day during the war. So in 2013, we decided to leave, but we left in our bodies, but our soul was still there when we left. And we have always remembered really what does it mean for us to call a new place home. And that certainly, leaving Syria and having to leave Syria has changed the way that I look at places. And then we were born in a place we did not choose, right? No one chooses where to be born. Akashu did not choose where we were born, right? No one chose where to be born. So I think we have two senses of home. There's home by birth and there's home by choice. And they can be the same or they cannot be the same. For me, home by birth is Syria. Now my home by choice is Canada, because the country opened the door for it. And I always connect the two cultures and make sure that I bring the best out of two countries that they make me who I am today.
Absolutely. And like first off, like I can't even imagine what the feast would have been like in that the building with
That's
so many family members, every single family event and all the various meals and
that's
the
right.
amazing cooking and food that you probably had the opportunity to
100%.
eat. And from there probably your father was able to get his better sense of his culinary skills and his attention to detail perhaps. Like that's just something that I was thinking about while you were mentioning all
My
that, which
father
is
didn't. My father didn't know actually anything about the kitchen until 1986, and he actually started making chocolate. Although he was not passionate about cooking, or even he didn't know how to make two fried eggs. Like he was there in the kitchen just watching my grandma cook, and he did not feel he really liked it. But then, he spent a really fair amount of time just learning how to make chocolate, and then he built up his own recipes. So yeah, growing up in that building, certainly there were many family members that we used to share that supper together every Saturday night, and there were many amazing memories from each one of those dinners that I will never forget. And my grandmother was so serious about it, so you have to tell your grandma if you were gonna miss the dinner because she will get really upset. Like she takes it very personally and seriously that she's making food for everyone with everyone in the family, and then everyone is supposed to be there. So when I used to travel, when I used to have exams or tests and I couldn't make it, I used to tell my grandmother 2 weeks in advance just to make sure that I would stay in the building. She will not kick me out.
that's incredible. And I think like to the proverb that you were mentioning, how like when it comes to I'm rephrasing it, but it was something about how like when things get serious, family is the one that stays with you. I think you were
That's
mentioning
right.
that. I could see how pivotal family has been for you, and even as your journey has continued, I've seen how you've kept that family spirit. And I wanted to actually talk a little bit about the transition. I know like it sounded like it was an incredible, and like you mentioned, like Syria is an incredible place. And from your recollection and stories, it only sounds even more incredible. But like you said, like during the unfortunate circumstances that occurred with the airstrike and everything that occurred, and then you and your family moving from Damascus and then going to Lebanon, even in that stage of moving, if I understand correctly, like you were still even during that time using your knowledge of medical skills to volunteer or still find ways that you can continue to help out even in that time. Is that if you could help walk us through a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the war broke out in Syria while I was in med school, and I did not finish med school there because I had to flee with my family. And the reason why we fled the country is because late in 2012, our entire building was stolen. The soldiers came in the building, they stole everything. Then they burnt the entire building, 10 floors, and then they bombed it. And then a few months later, my father was at the factory, and then I called him and I said, Dad, you should leave everything. He didn't know what was happening. He was very busy just making sure that the staff are safe and everyone is safe. And then he realized that there are going to be bombings in the area of the factory. He asked everyone to leave. He was the last person to leave among the hundreds of staff that he had at that time. And then 10 minutes after he left the factory, it was bombed by an airstrike. And we still didn't lose hope, right? We still felt that Syria is our country. We have to be there. We have to make sure that we are not giving up. But also, we didn't want to become part of that war, because the real victims of that war were Syrian civilians who didn't want to become part of it. And it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate what happened, and it is still happening up to this day. It's not over. The war is not over. And in 2013, we took the decision to flee because I was coming back from one of my trainings, and me and my brother were talking on the sidewalk, and a mortar rocket hit near us. So I carried my brother, we ran into the house, and then I told everyone, it's not time to do business, it's not time to do medicine, this is the time to survive. So we didn't have anything left at that time, to be honest. We have lost entirely entirely everything. Like we were not able to even. I had very special memories in my room. I used to collect stamps when I was growing up. So from all kind of collections, all kind of countries, and that was all burnt. That was all destroyed, and my entire collection was actually stolen by the soldiers. So when I left Syria to Lebanon, I'm like, we have two options. There's no third one. The two options are whether we sit down and complain and say we cannot do anything, or whether we dig down and find solutions. And then we realized the second option is better. We started digging down and we started finding solutions. So, and it was not an easy choice. It was not an easy choice. But we kept our spirit up. And the reason for that is because we felt that human beings have a huge amount of adaptability during any crisis. Like, human beings are much more powerful than what they think they are. And that kind of, the crisis mode, when it comes in, it just has so much power that people can start their lives in a way that they will never believe they will be able to. And that's really what happened to us in Lebanon. So when we crossed the border to Lebanon, I told my family, whether we play the role of victims or whether we play the role of victors. And I said I will play the role of a victor because we are victors by surviving a war we did not want to become part of. We are victors because my immediate family were not hurt in that war, that we were able to flee. And we were victors because we can rebuild anything. Anything with the fortitude of resiliency can be rebuilt. Nothing can be missed, and there is always that light at the end of the tunnel. So in Lebanon, I actually went to the UN, and then I started asking them, how can I help other refugees who are coming in Lebanon because of my medical skills? So I started volunteering with them. And I remember all the beautiful experiences that I have gained building primary and secondary healthcare centers and treating people with thalassemia and cancer and fundraising for many patients who were crossing the border and doing mobile clinics within the refugee camps. I felt that I'm fulfilled. I felt that I'm offering something that other people really are not. And it was the honor of my life to be able to help. But my family then, they were not able to do anything. My family were saying that they were counting down to death. And it was a time of their lives that certainly has affected every single decision after that. So my parents, they didn't know that we were able actually to leave Lebanon to come to a country like Canada. My family didn't know the consequences actually of staying there in Lebanon because they had to renew the residency every 6 months. And at some point, they were asked to go back to Syria, although the war was still ongoing. We felt so much kindness and generosity from the Lebanese people. And then we realized that we certainly have to restart our lives, a permanent life, in a place that would give us that sense of belonging and identity back. And that was absolutely Canada. We felt that Canada is the country that we would love to come to restart everything. And a lot of people don't realize the privileges that we live in. If we live in a safe place, if you live in a place where you did not have to immigrate, you just had to stay where you are, you have to stay with your family, with your connections, to grow up there, that everything that you had was there, then you absolutely don't know the struggles that immigrants go through to get to this country. You don't know the stories and the real causes that led people to leave their homeland and come to a country like Canada. And there is a proverb that says, no one leaves home unless home becomes like the mouth of the shark. And, Syria became that mouth of the shark for us. So we had to flee. And in Lebanon, we did not have much, and I realized that I have the responsibility to get my family out of there. So I applied to come to Canada, and then it all happened because of the kindness of a Lebanese man I will never meet again. He was a cab driver. He drove me for half an hour. He told me all about Canada. He told me that Canada is opening these sponsorships for refugees to come to Canada and continue their studies or restart their lives. I applied to come here, and that changed my life forever. I had no idea that my application was going to be accepted. I lost hope. Actually, every step of the way, I was always skeptical because at some point, when you lose everything, then you become skeptical that everything else will be sustainable, everything else will be permanent, because we were living day by day. Everything was temporary. We didn't see ourselves in 5 years or 10 years. People here in Canada think for the future. They were like buying a house for the next 50 years. Imagine living as refugees. You cannot even plan for tomorrow. You would not know if you will have food tomorrow or not. You would not know if your kids will be in schools or not. You would not know if you would be living in peace or not. So, leaving Lebanon, coming to Canada was the absolute biggest transition of our lives. But then we realized that immigration was the best choice and the best decision that we took as a family. And, we have found the best sense of home and what does that mean for all of us since we left our country. And I mean, just remembering the struggles, the hardships that we had to endure in Lebanon as refugees, it makes me so grateful to be living in a peaceful place right now where I proudly say that the world needs more Canada, where I proudly say that, you know, um, becoming a refugee is not a choice. It's not a decision. It's not a life goal. It's something that we are forced to. So I hope that people can reflect on that, can realize the absolute importance of being open, being there for each other, supporting those who are fleeing their homes, not because of their choice, but because we were forced to. And I always, connect to the crisis of refugees, to the current crisis that the world is living through and is still living through, the pandemic. And people ask me, would you prefer to live in a war or would you prefer to live in a pandemic? And I said living in the war was the most horrible thing that can absolutely affect anyone. Because living in the war means that we were forced to leave our home, we lost family members, and we had no way back. Living in a pandemic, what did it mean? In 2020 until now, people were asked to stay home as much as possible, to stay safe. And I said, I will take the second. I will take a pandemic over a war. I will take 10 pandemics over the war. Because if you are asked to stay safe, then that's the true care and that's the true meaning of home. And I said, full stop, I will take a pandemic over the war. And, you know, since that crisis that we have survived, I think it changed everything for our vision and mission as a family as well, because we believe that we have so much to share. We have to teach others our struggles and our challenges and our hardships so no one else has to go through it. We went through so much and we want to share it with everyone else so no one else will go through it. Mistakes should not be repeated, and human beings keep waging wars. Now we are living in a time when war can start overnight, and this needs to stop, right? Because no one is learning. No one is learning from the past mistakes, that wars are the biggest mistake and failure of humankind. And that's why actually we launched a mission here in Canada to be peace advocates for everyone. Not because we wanted to see the country, free of war, but also we wanted to see Canadians reflect on the meaning of peace. All of these little seeds that contribute to peace should be nurtured. From our conversations, my talk with you today, from conversations from around the country, talking about what do they want to see in Canada for the future. And I'm just seeing that a lot of people right now are getting more apathy actually from politics. What we really want to know is what are the real meanings of peace that everyone should focus on. And that's really what me and my family are doing right here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was going to mention something like it's a lot of people don't have the same perspective that you've garnered and your family has garnered about what it really means, that how fortunate we are to live in like a peaceful country like Canada, or in a country that has a democracy, or in such states. And I think like the perspective, if the way I heard it today, it definitely made me reflect. And I really hope as people listen to it, they can reflect and understand how fortunate we are to be in the place that we are. And I wanted to now bring it a bit more into the actual transition period about your life. I know, thanks to the cab driver that you met in Lebanon, as well as be wanting to take action to help out your family, you had the opportunity to apply. And even though things might have seemed bad, the hope actually opened up when the community of Antigonish in Nova Scotia, with their SAFE program, they decided to bring and sponsor you. And coming from Canada, I know it was obviously very cold. Sorry, coming to Canada, obviously very cold, and it's a completely different experience for you. But transitioning here and coming here, how was the experience first? Or what? I know it's been some time now, but if there are a few quick things that pop into your head about those moments.
It was extraordinary journey. I had a really amazing time flying from Lebanon, arriving in Toronto. But I remember learning about the culture of this country, the openness, the values of empathy, and helping anyone who comes here. But also the most important thing was, learning about what does Canada offer to immigrants and what do immigrants offer to Canada. It's like the marriage between newcomers and Canada, right? This is exactly what immigration is. It's that marriage. And when I arrived here, certainly the weather was the biggest shock of my life. And I just remember, the first few moments when I just didn't realize how cold it would be outside the airport. And I went out there with a little spring jacket. It was minus 25 in Toronto when I arrived. And I was wearing like a spring jacket for 15 when I left Beirut in Lebanon. So I was like a frozen chicken, came back into the airport waiting for the bus to come to pick me up to go to the hotel. And then I landed the next day in Nova Scotia, and I was bundled with like scarves and hats and boots and heavy coats on myself. And I arrived in Antigonish. It was snowing actually when I arrived there in the town. I arrived around midnight. It was dark there, so I didn't really see anything. Antigonish is a small town. It's 5,000 people. Used to live in Syria, which is 1,000 times bigger city. So it is quite the difference for me to live in a small town versus living in a big city like in Damascus. So a lot of absolute beautiful memories. But the best memory that I still remember up to this day is when I arrived in Antigonish and people were coming to me the next day asking me if I needed anything. Like I was walking on Main Street in Antigonish a day after my arrival. I didn't meet anyone yet. Like I met a group of 10 people. They were the community group who brought me to Canada, and they were bringing my family as well, called SAFE, which stands for Syria Antigonish Families Embrace. And I was just walking there trying to learn about the town, go to see all the landmarks of the town, the parks, although it was December, but I thought to myself, well, I have to go see the decorations. It was around the holiday, so it was absolutely magical. And everyone was coming to me. They saw my picture in the paper because I made it. I was the first Syrian refugee to arrive in Antigonish. So my mom used to call me Neil Armstrong, who arrived in Antigonish. And it was the best time of my life, just seeing the best of humanity displayed on Main Street in Antigonish. When people were coming to me, they were asking me if I needed anything, if they can give me a ride, or if they can take me to Tim Hortons. They have a conversation and teach me English and tell me how to open a bank account and all of them. Like, thank you guys, and I was truly overwhelmed with joy, with the amazing spirit that the people of Antigonish had at that time, and they continue to have, like every other Canadian. And I hope to transfer this kindness. When you get kindness, you give kindness. Like you get it in the right hand, you give it in the left hand. It's a circle. You need to be transferring this kindness to someone else, because this is how the world is going to thrive. This is the world is going to prosper. This is the world that we need to leave for our children and our grandchildren, for future generations. So amazing memories from coming to Canada, and that certainly has helped us to think a lot about how can we give back to the country that opened the doors for us when many other countries were closing.
Gotcha. And I know, like, there was a CBC journalist, John, who started to cover a lot of your story once you were able to
That's
come,
right.
and he wrote the book. And I know he mentioned in the book the story of like your first Christmas and your first Christmas. And so you described it as magical. Was there anything else about the Christmas, or obviously now you've had a few Christmases, but
That's
about
right.
that you're like, wow, this is like home, or be like, wow, this is very different.
Oh, it was absolutely close to home because I used to have a lot of friends who celebrated Christmas in Damascus, and I used to go there and celebrate with them. So being in Antigonish was just an amazing time. I think yeah, around the holidays because I have seen families get together, and I have just reminded me from what I left in Syria. You know that the dinners around Christmas time, all the celebrations, the gifts, and all of that. It just reminded me from my family, right? So because this is how we used to live, but it was not only around Christmas. It used to be like every Saturday, and I just have left a great impression on how do I celebrate with the amazing new family that now just have embraced me in a new country, in one of the coldest countries on the planet, but the warmest-hearted people on the planet as well. So yeah, I celebrated with many Kenyan families since I arrived for sure.
Perfect. And I know like after you were able to come, then slowly the rest of your family was able to come as well. And once all your family was, or majority of your family was together, obviously that was an amazing feeling. And then slowly but surely, you, the idea or the dream of recreating or continuing on your family's legacy of chocolate decided to continue. And just wanted to understand a little bit about like how that process started to come back. And I know obviously you're mentioning already that the community was really helpful in that process. If you could just talk a little bit about that as well.
100%, 100%. So we arrived I arrived in December. My family followed me after 3 weeks, and they were all excited, but at the same time worried. They were like, we lived in Syria, in Damascus, a big city for our lives, for all of our lives, and now they're coming to a small town, and they were asking me how they were gonna survive. And I said, guys, if when you arrive in Antigonish, you would feel it. There is that amazing vibe of a big family. The community is a big family. And everyone was coming on our knocking on our doors and asking us if we need anything, or giving us gifts, or bringing us flowers, or asking if they can take the kids to learn how to do street hockey and bring them all the gears, and teach everyone about Tim Hortons, and taking us to grocery stores to pick up our favorite groceries. And my family felt that as if we were born in Canada, taken away for years and years of our lives, and then brought back to Canada. This is how it felt. It's like we were Canadians by birth, just taken away for a short period of time and then brought back. And it was absolutely, absolutely incredible feelings that my family felt, that we had that responsibility to give back. What we realized at that time is that we lived through a war that killed maybe many things in us, but it did not kill our sense of spirit. It did not kill our skills. It did not kill our talent. This is something that the war does not kill in you.
Mm-hmm.
And why my family felt that we can start
Right.
again making the chocolate in the home kitchen like we used to do it in Syria when my father started the business 35 years ago. And it was like history repeating itself. And we were asking the community, how can we get the ingredients? We were going to grocery stores, getting soya lecithin and cocoa beans and cocoa butter, and mixing the chocolate on a pot on a stove in the home kitchen, making the chocolate in the ice cubes, putting them in the fridge, and then taking the flavors, the best flavors we have created actually, of dried blueberries and all kind of pistachios and hazelnuts and almonds and dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate, and taking it to the community to give us their ideas and their thoughts. And everyone was truly impressed. So we were sold out at our farmers market first day in 2016 within like literally 10 minutes. 10 minutes, everything was gone. And we had to go back to make more for the week after. And then it was really, really incredible just to see how much support we have received when we got there. And it just has told us the story of Canada in 10 minutes. When we start the business, it told us the story of Canada. The story of Canada is people believe in newcomers. People believe in immigration. People believe that as refugees, we have brought something special and something unique, and we wanted to share it with the community. That's why they were lining up at 8:30 a.m. to buy chocolate. Who wakes up on Saturday at 8:30 a.m. to buy chocolate? No one does that. But they believed that our chocolate was special. They believed it was unique, and they all came to show some support. They all came to show some love, and we were very motivated right then, actually, to continue in the business. At that time, just to make it clear for people actually who don't know, that I came here on the purpose to become a physician. That was my goal. So
Right.
I tried to go back to medicine, and then I realized that someone told me, do you know, if you are in Toronto and if you had a heart attack, it's safer to be in a taxi, in a cab, rather than being at the emergency room at the hospital. And I said, why? Why would you be in a cab if you had a heart attack? They said it's safer to be in a taxi. And I was wondering why. And they told me because 60 to 70% of cab drivers in Toronto are immigrant physicians who could not go back to medicine, who could not get their credentials recognized in Canada. So they had to give up on their passion and their mission and their career to become physicians, and they were doing something else entirely different. And I just felt that, while I'm not going to lose 10 years of my life trying to go back to medicine, probably I was going to rebuild the family business again with my family, get us back on track, and share our message with everyone there. And that went absolutely so well. It was exceeding our expectations. By May 2016, we called the business Peace by Chocolate, because we believe that peace is noble. And without peace, no one can go to work, no one can build businesses, you cannot raise kids, you cannot do anything without peace. And chocolate is a product of happiness. So we just felt that by spreading these messages with every single chocolate bar or chocolate piece or chocolate box, we are helping each other, we are helping our community, we are being active citizens as newcomers. We are not taking away, we are not taking jobs, but we are offering more jobs to the community. We are hiring more people every single day. And that's how communities grow. Communities grow not because businesses focus on profit. Communities grow because
Right.
businesses focus on people. And we wanted to focus on people. And that's how actually a lot of people were joining. Even some of them were volunteering. Some of them were like, we don't want to get paid, just we want to help you. Or like, okay, guys, we're going to pay you with chocolates. So they were coming and helping us on Christmas in 2016, after the Prime Minister delivered a speech about our company in September of 2016, talking about how we were able to restart our business. And that speech actually became trending in Canada at that time. And it's also a huge part of our movie that is coming up.
That's terrific. That's amazing. Such an incredible, even just account of how things occurred. And I want, and what you mentioned are so key for anyone to even hear to the state of business, which is like you mentioned, like the triple bottom line, and like how it's so important to also not just make profits but give back. And I even know, like, when Fort McMurray was happening, or like you said, even when trying to make sure there's local jobs, trying to make sure that Nova Scotia is thriving, and try to think about how the actual you're living your values. And I feel like over the course of the years, you've continued to really tap into that. Would you, is that a fair assessment?
100%. Thank you. Thank you for summarizing that. Yes, absolutely. I just felt that a lot of businesses were not focusing on their triple bottom lines. They were focusing only on the bottom line. And we wanted to bring the three dimensions back again to the business conversation, not only in Nova Scotia, not only in Canada, but around the world. And at that time, many people were still used to consumerism. People were used to commercial advertisements about something that does not have a story. People go to stores and buy stuff and buy brands that they don't know what it is and what it stands for. And these days, people are getting more and more aware about, if they are buying this chocolate bar or this product, they're contributing to this cause, for example. We started on the base of giving back, and that's very true, because the company the original concept of Peace by Chocolate started after the wildfires in Fort McMurray. They happened in 2016, and when we were watching the news and we were seeing people fleeing their homes, losing everything behind, and we wanted to help. So we started that campaign to donate our profits to the Real Red Cross, to many relief efforts, and to really make sure that we were living in peace, but also we were making sure that other Canadians are living in peace, are living in safety, and they have a place to call home. Because many people lost their homes during the wildfires. That was the essence of Peace by Chocolate. That was the key event that has changed the trajectory of our business. I'm so thankful for the support from everyone in Canada for that campaign, because it restored my faith that business can be a platform for change, that business can be a platform for community, and that business can contribute, not only take away. So, in this point in time, we have built our chocolate company back again. It's on its feet. We are distributing all across Canada while we are donating our profits to organizations like the Canadian Mental Health Association, like Refugee Hub in Ottawa and across the country, Indigenous communities here in Nova Scotia and around the country. Proceeds go from a product called Nitab, which means buddy or friend in Mi'kmaq. And the first chocolate bar we created was Wanta Udi, which means peace in Indigenous language in Nova Scotia, which is Mi'kmaqi. And we just wanted to teach people how to speak peace, feel peace, live peace, listen to peace. And we had actually included over now 14 languages in our collection that teach people about the value of peace and how to do that, and how do we live it, and how do we pronounce it. How do you build that connection with someone when you meet them for the first time? If I'm meeting someone who speaks Chinese, if I'm meeting someone who speaks Spanish, if I'm meeting someone who speaks German, I talk to them in the language of peace. I know, that this is going to be so valuable for them and so memorable. So the first thing they're going to remember from me is the word peace when I told them in their own language, right? When someone comes to me and says salam, which means peace in Arabic, I will never forget them. I know exactly when I met them, how I met them, what we were talking about. Peace is a lasting conversation. And that's really what we wanted our Peace Bar collection to do. And we added many more collections after that. But as you feel right now, we have the company where we have a community-oriented, focused society called Peace on Earth, while proceeds and profit from our products go to that society to support many causes that they make difference every single day to Canadians. And the people around the world, not only people in Canada, but refugees even around.
That's incredible, and like we brought it all the way almost to the present moment. And I was even looking you've on the Peace by Chocolate YouTube channel, you released the video, the drone footage of the new boutique
That's
that
right.
you have right in Halifax. And when you go inside, you can see it's all the chocolate, and then people have the little bag and they can put the chocolates, and it was so incredible to see. It's so amazing to see. And I feel like it's just amazing. And congratulations on that. And how does it feel to have the boutique or the store right there in Halifax now?
Oh, it was phenomenal. We opened in the middle of the pandemic, and many people were asking us if that was the right step. And then I told them, well, people need hope, and that's what our story offers. We as human beings, we get inspired by each other. We need hope. And hope is infectious. It's contagious. It's more contagious than COVID-19. So we want people to feel that we can absolutely spread these amazing messages of hope, resiliency, empowerment, sharing, and caring about one another. And that was really the reason why we opened our store. And as you said, Akash, as well, we have really focused a lot on every single detail in the store when we were sharing our architecture signatures within the arches, within the colors, within the product offering, the display of the product, teaching people, as I mentioned, about the values and how to be peacemakers. So associating people really with the peacemaker concept, when everyone who believed in our story supported our company actually is going to be featured hopefully within the next couple of weeks on our website within a series called The Peacemakers, so people would know who were the first supporters of Peace by Chocolate, and that was really really incredible just to know that people are there for each other and people are there for us, and we wanted to continue our mission, and we are so thankful actually for all the support that we have received in Halifax. Halifax is the biggest urban hub for our brand and for our company, and we wanted to make sure that our products are accessible for everyone. It will be the store in Halifax right now is the only signature flagship location in the country that offers all kind of products for the company, and I really hope that people are enjoying stopping by. But at the same time, people can still purchase our products from their own local stores, but also from our website, peacebychocolate.ca. And we want to make sure that peace is accessible, right? And you want to make sure that people are able to let us know how they feel during the pandemic. So we launched the bar called the Peace of Mind Bar, we believe that taking care of our mental health as human beings is very critical, and we were really honored with the feedback we have received so far.
That's incredible. And just like one last question I want to ask about the business side is like, I know like for a lot of folks who look at Peace by Chocolate, they see like Tareq is the face, or they see Sam, your father. But I wanted to understand like some of the key people in the behind the scenes who don't get as much attention. Like obviously like your mother, like Shanaz, Allah, Batul. Some of these folks, I wanted to understand like how critical are they to your success as well.
Oh, 100%. It's I'm always apologetic about just being out there. People see my face, but they do not really know that I'm just the tip of the iceberg of the family, and a lot of the people actually were supportive for our brand. But my family is the absolute foundation for everything in the company. My mother and my sister now, they are a store manager for our location in Antigonish. My dad is the senior production manager, and I'm the CEO of the company. Everyone else, in the family, whether they are involved directly within the stores, whether they're involved at the factory, whether they're involved at tasting the chocolates, everyone got a job. Everyone got a job with us. So yeah, absolutely. My sister is Shanaz. My mother is Shanaz. My sister is Ala and Batul. They are the ones certainly who were co-managing our store in Antigonish, and we have a lot of people here in the city as well that they are supporting our new flagship store. But it is a family-owned business, so our family is really proud to be always sharing something new with Canadians. And you always feel that businesses who have that family aspect, they have something unique and different. And as well, the piece of it that we as a family, we have survived so much together to come here to Canada and to restart our lives. It means a lot for all of us to be in this together as well, and have the same mission and the same vision for the company and for years and years to come.
That's awesome, and it's very heartwarming for me to see and for people to see like family is strong and united, and it really is from my perspective like the key to the success for Peace by Chocolate, and obviously a lot of other things too. I just had a few quick rapid fire questions I wanted to
Sure.
ask Tareq, and I feel you'd be amazing at answering these. One of the very first questions I wanted to ask you was if you could have a billboard anywhere on the busiest street, busiest highway in the world, what would you want on that billboard to say?
Peace is beautiful.
Peace is beautiful. Okay, that's good. I thought you may have said that quote that you said like in your TEDx talk, which is like you don't choose your beginning, but everybody gets to choose your end. So
Absolutely.
that's good.
Absolutely.
That's good. I like that one too. Perfect. And another question I wanted to ask is, what is a book that you like to gift most often to your family or to your friends?
There's actually many books that I love gifting. There's a book called Small Giants, and absolutely everyone should read that book. Certainly, if they are interested in knowing how smaller companies and people who run those companies that affect every day of our lives decided not to go big, but to make the impact in their community. The other book certainly that I'm championing in Canada Reads in March on CBC. I'm a panelist on Canada Reads with CBC this year, and the book that I chose is What Strange Paradise by Umar al-Lakkad. And What Strange Paradise just tells an absolute heartwarming tale of the refugee boat crashed at the shore of an island, and it just gives us true meanings of hope and how do we face despair. So these books are certainly the two that has shaped me the way that I am today.
Terrific. Those are some great recommendations. Another quick rapid fire question was like, how does it feel to have a movie made about your own story and to have an actor play you?
That was surreal. That was absolutely surreal, and a lot of the times I'm like, guys, the Ayham did an amazing job. He's the actor. Ayham Abu Ammar did my role in the movie, and it always felt so extraordinary, because people are always gonna mix us together. When they see him, they would think he's Tareq. When they see me, they might think that I am Ayham. And it is an absolute honor. I absolutely teared. I had many tears in my eyes when I first watched the final version of the movie last year, and I just couldn't believe it. It was truly a moment out of this world. I always called it really the one of the biggest moments of my life. The biggest moments of my life is when I arrived in Canada, when I became a Canadian citizen, and when I first watched one of the first scenes of our movie.
Wow. No, that's awesome. And I wanted to ask you is like I noticed like you always like to wear like, dress really well. Like you always like to like wear like a blazer or like wear like a three-piece suit, a tie. Where did you get this sense of this direction to dress so professionally or to always look so presentable?
Well, I mean, people always approach other human beings, with a sense of what they see first, right? Like if we look in a good way, if we feel in a good way, if we smile, these are all invitations for a conversation. These are all invitations for people to talk together. A lot of people, even during the pandemic, they're feeling isolated, and they were not meeting. I miss actually being in conferences. I just have many flights scheduled in March. Hopefully, they won't be canceled. And I truly love to just show up, in a suit with a tie and with my peace bin on my suits as well, talking to people, presenting them exactly with the way that I love them really to see me, and I totally understand even the opposite approach where people just don't want to make that decision fatigue every day to choose what they are wearing or to make sure that their shirts are ironed well or their suits are ironed well and they look in a certain way. Every human being is beautiful the way they look, the way they dress, the way that they smile, the way that they talk, the way that they shape themselves up. And I just feel that I feel the beauty inside coming out, really, when I present myself in a way that seems approachable and in a way that seems that I am reflecting on my life back home in Syria and the way that my father as well used to dress up in suits when he was building his business, going around, traveling around the country and around the world. So I was certainly inspired by my father, who certainly had shaped me that the way I am today.
It's a great answer, and I'm definitely inspired. I'm gonna try to dress up better too.
You look great. You look
The other quick
great,
question I want
Akash.
to ask you is
You
like,
look great.
thank, thank you. I'm learning. I'm learning from you. The other quick question I wanted to ask you about was like, what it like because generational limits is all about inspiring people. I just wanted like something I would love to ask is like for like young folks or for people who are still trying to figure it out. What advice would you give that you'd want, or even if you could go back to like to yourself, like your old like self 10 years ago or 15 years ago, what would be one piece of advice that you'd love to give?
Um, we as young generations right now, we are feeling that we have to rush to do things. Like a lot of us, we are living through this age of technology where anything we want, anything we need, is at the tips of our fingerprints, right? On our phones, we order something, it arrives the same day or even the next morning. We want to watch a show, we go on TV. We don't have to wait from week to week to week, to watch an episode of something that we love on a TV channel, because we can just go on Netflix or Crave or whatever and just watch it, right? We lost that sense of patience. And a lot of people are rushing to get everything, and they just do not know that everything requires hard work and discipline and commitment and determination. And all of those take time. Building even relationships with your team, with the people that you want to work with, everything takes time. So, this is the best advice that I've got in my life. This is the best advice, is because I was almost getting consumed by the speed of life here in Canada and how fast things can go. So I wanted to make sure that I'm building that foundation for my family and for myself one step at a time, because we're going to reach our peak, we're going to reach our goal, but it's all going to take time, right? But at the same time, I was watching the Oscars when I arrived in Canada, and I think there was a speech for Matthew McConaughey, and he was talking about his best hero, and that certainly kept with me. He was talking about his hero was himself 10 years after, every time. So when he was 30 years old, his hero was 40 years old. When he reached 40 years old, his hero was 50 years old. His hero was always ahead of him. And he will never reach his hero, right? So we always have to keep going. And by keep going, if we always want to keep going, making sure we are building that foundation. So if we make a mistake, it doesn't mean the end of us. It means that it is only one bump on the road. It's not the end of the journey. So my biggest advice for people as well is to make sure that they're building their solid networks, surrounding themselves with people that they get inspired by. We truly need true inspirations and leaders in our lives. Every single person needs it. I need it. You need it. Every single person needs to be inspired by someone, need to be inspired by something, need to be inspired by a journey, by an experience. So make sure that you surround yourself with people that you will be loving, hearing them or learning from them, not people bringing you down. So if it's not working, my professor used to say, if it's not working, go networking. Make sure that you are networking with people that they have the same passion as you do, and they have the same goals in life as you do. And certainly the last thing, as we all have learned from the pandemic, is what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we are now stronger more than ever. Everyone has learned something. So I hope people can reflect on all of those advice.
There's so many great pearls of wisdom there. The last question, Tareq, because I already take up so much time. The last question I wanted to ask is, and you can answer this however you like, is what is the impact that you like to make in this world going forward?
I would love to see the world a more peaceful, prosperous, where people understand each other, where all of those barriers that people think they are truly barriers are become the fuel for our strength and for our unity and for our collective actions about the real threats that are threatening our planet right now, which is certainly climate change. We are not the enemy of each other. We have external enemies that we have to face in the collective existence for us as the humankind and the human race. And there is not too many races on this planet. There's only one race. It's a human. It's a race of humans. And we're really, realizing for us as a human being, the amazing similarities that we share trump, it just transcends our differences. It just brings us all together in an amazing way. So my personal goal in life is certainly, if I can return that small acts of kindness, one small act of kindness that's going to make the significant change in someone else's life, I will be so fulfilled till the rest of my life. So the cab driver in Lebanon who told me for 5 minutes about coming to Canada and I'm here today and restarted my life, I will never meet him again, but he's always in my heart and I'm always thankful for him. I want to have the same impact as that cab driver on someone else's life. So wherever I go right now, I'm trying to plant these small seeds of acts of kindness, because you never know where these small seeds are going to grow, and they might be becoming the biggest tree of impact and compassion and love and peace that the world has ever known.
This is like this. That's I don't know what to say. There's a lot of good stuff there, and it's truly inspiring to see your journey, Tarek, and can't wait to see what else you do. And I'm sure they'll be around too, and we can even talk about the other amazingness that you're going to accomplish.
Thank you.
And even for myself, I hope to emulate and see you as someone I can continue to learn and grow with.
Thank you very
And
much.
thank you so much for all this, Tarek. Those are all my questions. I cannot commend you enough and your family. It's great to see.
My pleasure.
It's amazing to see. Very heartwarming, and we're very lucky to have you even on the podcast and to see your story. Thank you so much, Tarek.
Thank you very much for having me. It's absolutely my pleasure.
All right, Tarek.